4.
All we need is 4, right?
Hmm?
All we need is 4?
Yeah.
There's
That's 5
somebody right there.
Tiffany.
Tiffany?
Welcome, Tiffany. We do have a quorum, and we've got about a minute before it starts.
Okay.
Might grab the other one of these and put it close to you. That's a little easier for people here. Well,
That one you raised, please.
you ready, Ruby? Okay.
All right, I call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Roll call. William Duarte here. Valerie Garcia. Vanessa Navarrete.
Here.
Tiffany Rao.
Here.
Jim Shank.
Present.
Yeah. Nathan Taylor.
Here.
Melissa Robigo. Is Heston?
Heston.
Heston.
Here.
Okay. Now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now on to item number 4, consent agenda pursuant to, do you want me to read all this?
Just say consent agenda is fine.
Consent agenda. Number 1, minutes of regular session, minutes from June 25th, 2020. Do I have a motion to approve the, sorry, go ahead. Do we have a second?
I second it, this is Jim.
All those in favor to approve the minutes of the regular session meeting, June 25th? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Did you catch who made the motion, Ruby?
No, Jim.
Who made the original motion, please, just for Ruby's records?
Who made the original motion, please?
Oh, sorry, Vanessa.
Okay, no problem.
If they can say their name, please.
The clerk is asking you to identify yourself by name when you make a motion, just so she can be sure to get it in a minute.
Yeah, just identify yourself when we go through motions, okay? New business. Item 5A, discussion and update on Multi-Gen Center. Possible change of location, letter of intent with Elijah Carden regarding the old Superior High School.
Okay, as an update, we had I think it's been a little over a month now ago, maybe a little longer, a meeting with the project manager on the job. They had finished their initial design, and they were running the design through engineering estimate, which is the normal step you go to determine that your scope works. The number that came back. The number that came back for the construction of the building they had designed, an additional 25,000 square feet, was $18 million. That included $6 million in subsurface work, $6 million to modify the existing building, and $6 million to build the new building. That cost of construction is around $400 a square foot. This is a trend that we've been seeing in construction. The Stone Avenue resurfacing project. The original estimate that was in the transportation pavement study from 2017 was $115,000, but it actually came back at $201,000 this year. So nobody goes into the trades anymore. There are not enough employees, so the cost of labor has skyrocketed, which means that a lot of these companies don't have extra crews to bid on smaller jobs, and when they do, they bid them at a premium. So just about all construction the costs are blooming. With that in mind, we had two options. We could restrict the scope of this building significantly. It would be a metal building, just big enough to put the gym and part of the new library in. We'd have to use part of the existing building for the library. It would be a seriously withdrawn or reduced scope to make it work. Instead, we decided to try to pivot, and we started talking to Elijah Carden at the high school. He has spent several $1 million on the building. He's put a ton of work into it. It's got new roofs, new elastomeric covers on all the other roofs. It's got a new sewer lines throughout, 600 feet of new line, 100 foot of resurfacing. It's got AC through about half the building, upgraded electrical, all new plumbing through most of the buildings. All the bathrooms work, everything works in the building right now. It's going to take more money to address accessibility issues, which is where we're going to have to spend a significant amount of money, finishing the AC, doing the changes. So the purchase price that we got to was about $3 million, which is about $50 a square foot, 58 or something like that a square foot, which is significantly cheaper than we could build. We have another budget of $1.5 million to do the modifications of the building. It might need an elevator. It's going to need some upgrade. It definitely will need at least ramps in the main building itself, the old building. And the newer buildings all have accessibility. The old building does not. So that will have to be addressed. It needs electrical in part of the building. It needs AC in a lot, and some of the older buildings, or some of the wing buildings. On the upside, it has lots of very usable space. It's more space than we were going to have here. It has a shop area with electrical already in it, so that we could do the workforce center that we were talking about for training our young people for the new mining jobs. So there are some advantages to moving over there. It also opens up the possibility of more historic preservation grants. So we are currently coming up with a final letter of option agreement. The option agreement will give us a year to do the pre-feasibility studies, to redo the architectural report, and to do the financial feasibility and do the EPA phase 1 and 2s, so that we're all ready to know whether the building's ready to go. I've talked to the architects and project managers. Because they kind of led us down a wrong path on this one, they are going to do the pivot, the redesign, without increasing the budget at all, without increasing their contract at all. So they're going to essentially eat the cost of the design. So that's where we are with that. And now that I've rambled on for a while, I want to be taking questions.
I'll start, Todd.
Yeah.
Couple of concerns. The $18 million, that was gouging by the construction companies basically that were going to bid on the project.
It wasn't an engineering construction company. This was a there are companies that just do engineering estimates. They're engineers who gauge the market conditions and look at what projects are going for, and then they do estimates based on the design they're given. So the core problem was over-design, but the cost of construction has just about doubled in the last 2 years. So the original engineering estimates on this that we did 2 years ago were $150 a square feet, and then, like I said, it came back at $400 a square feet for the modifications.
And did they appraise the high school, the old high school already? Has it had an official appraisal?
It has not had an appraisal, and it's unlikely an appraisal will do it justice. There aren't comps. What other building are we going to compare it to? There's only one buyer for that project. Nobody else is going to offer that. There's only one seller. So it is not. There's not going to be an accurate appraisal for it.
And one of the, I know you mentioned ADA compliance, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That would be a concern for me. The other thing would be, it's all uphill. It does provide a gym, it does provide parking, and the workspace for your, projects over on the left-hand side or whatever. It has some tennis courts there. I'm concerned about the older people that would be using the place because it's nothing but stairs, and then you have to get upstairs, downstairs, whatnot. How is that going to be even addressed?
So that's, like I said, the most expensive item is going to be ADA accessibility. There is an ADA parking lot around the back side of the building. It's high on grade, so most everything is accessible in the newer buildings from that using just ramps. The exception is the oldest, the 1920s building, the 2 stories on the front. We've looked at it. Most likely it's going to need an elevator that will stop in 3 spots to hit all the 2 main floors and then the half floor in between. And that's going to be an expensive add. That's probably the single most expensive component. And it's going to be at least $250,000 to do that. There are options to look for ramps instead. And we will explore those options before we spend the money, but it's going to have to be engineered for accessibility. The old shop building is fully accessible. It has ramps. The middle building is can easily be made to be accessible. On the bottom floor, the top floor is another area that the elevator would service.
What about the rock feature? Were we doing away with, remember we talked about the rock feature? I think that put into the final plans for the
climbing wall? Is that what you mean?
climbing wall?
Climbing wall would be a nice value add, and it still could be done in the gym. It's quite a tall gym, but we're just going to have to be careful and cautious of our budget. Like I said, the cost of construction has skyrocketed, so we're going to have to design to a $1.5 million budget. And I think if there's money left over after we're done designing, we got to put the wall in. If not, we got to look for a grant afterwards to do it, or do it as a separate project.
You've been in the old high school, correct?
Oh yeah.
Where would you put that? In the gym?
The climbing wall?
Yeah, because there's really no space to put it unless you take some bleachers out.
It would be on an end wall. It would be the only place it would fit. You'd have to put it off to the side so it wouldn't impede the basketball court. But that, yeah, this isn't a custom built building, so we will have to shoehorn things in. And that's what the design will have to happen over the next 3 months, is we're going to have to figure where, we take all of our puzzle pieces and fit them into that building.
Are we trying to ramrod this project a little too quickly? The reason I ask that is because it sounds like I'll be honest with you, the old high school doesn't entice me at all as far as a place to put an MGC. I go and I look around all these other towns and it's new buildings with structures created just for that, and I know we're in a different situation. Tell me why this is a good idea.
It's a good idea because, simply put, we will never have another opportunity to build a multi-gen of this size. Not for the next 20 years. The stakes, the things that we had to put together to get to this point are huge hills to climb. So the pricing for construction is just going to get worse. So it's not a matter of delay and things will get better. Delay and the project falls off the planet, it never happens. So that's why we probably need to continue to move forward. It's also, I think that we're going to have to gauge the public's interest in it, and I've been working on a press release on it to get it out to the public so we can get some public input for the council meeting. I'm waiting for everyone to weigh in on the press release so we can get some idea whether there is the will to do it in the town.
I'd like to open it up to questions from the rest of you.
Sure, this is Heston.
Heston, go ahead.
Okay, I guess two quick things. So, and I'm not sure how aware the group is of the work we've been doing, or I shouldn't say we at Resolution, but the consultants that we've hired to help the town do some visioning and planning for long-term future growth in the community and with Arizona strategies. And these are the very best of the best community planners and designers in Arizona. And they 100% have come to the table and said this is the best decision you can make. Is to put the multi-gen at the old high school site, more from a foot traffic standpoint, from a parking standpoint, for when you have to shut down Main Street for events, you have overflow parking that becomes available. There's lots of added benefits to that location. So I think actually for Resolution, I think fully support that idea. And then the second thing I would just add to that is, when the designers are going through, I think there's going to have to be some internal, and everybody's going to have to be comfortable with the idea. Obviously, I don't have the sentimental history with the old high school, so it's easy to say that. But there's going to have to be some, I think, just eyes wide open knowledge that the interior of the building is going to have to change. The character is going to have to change a bit, right? So like the old bleachers and stuff, you brought up a good point where you're going to put the rock wall, but in reality for a multi-gen center, do you really need bleachers? So can you shift some of those things that are in there around to get the different aspects in and make it work? I think the building itself has got good bones and can do a lot of, could be a really good location for that.
So this is Jim. First of all, I really like the process to design the multi-gen center, and I think we were all happy with the product, but it ain't happening. I was the one that was probably the hottest about having an elevated walking track, and that's not happening. But even so, even if we were able to build the multi-gen center, I think that the town needs to own the old high school, and doing both wasn't going to happen. I agree with Heston that we need to see what we can get. What I'd like to ask Todd, I'm in agreement that this is the way we need to move forward. And if I thought by saying, hey, we could wait 3 or 4 years, then we could build the multi-gen center that we planned, I'd say let's do that. But I agree that that's not happening, and this is an opening. I did not live here then, but I think it was a crime that the school got sold to a private party. I think that this is a good opportunity to get it back. My questions to Todd have to do with money and financing. And I guess a couple of the things I want to understand. One is all the USDA financing still work for this? You mentioned possible historic preservation monies. That sounds good. Who knows? Maybe we can get Superiorites to chip in money to get the old school back as part of something that they would be interested in. But and then the final one is I understand $1.5 million. We have to do accessibility. What other things are we getting for $1.5 million?
there's many individual things. I've got a long list, but the biggest thing is that there isn't modern AC, heating AC in the entire building. That has to be done. That's the second most expensive item. There's got to be interior structural modifications to make it work for the library and everything else. It needs IT, it needs security cameras because it's a large building. It's going to have to be monitored from a central location. It's an extensive list. The single most, like I said, the most expensive item is an elevator. If they can't figure out how to do it with ramps, that's going to be expensive. But if we put an elevator in, it solves accessibility for the senior center, it solves accessibility for the main building. We also have to modify the commercial kitchen. It's got a nice stainless hood and everything in there, but it doesn't have modern equipment. It doesn't have, it needs to have the suppression system replaced. So that's going to be in the range of about $150,000. However, it's set up better than we were going to get before because it has individual teaching stations, and one of the goals was to make it a teaching kitchen. We have to modify the other room for the senior center right across the hallway, and then when they have a big events, parties, they can use the old library if the elevator's working. So the plan is right now is to put the senior center in that section. We also have to do the Enterprise Innovation Center, and that would go in the second floor of the shop, is the current plan. Though it could be moved, all this can be changed. We'll have to go through a planning process just like we did with the other one.
Okay, and
Workout equipment as well, that's another big item. We have to get in the range of $50,000 to $100,000 worth of workout equipment. A basic setup would be about $50,000 for commercial equipment. And somebody had a question?
the other financial question was, you mentioned an option while we do the environmental investigation and all of that. Once you have an option signed, does that mean that we have a price guarantee that it would be sold out from under us?
Yes, it gives us 1 year to do all our feasibility. I've spoken to USDA, they're actually fairly enthusiastic about this. Property acquisition is perfectly acceptable use for the grant monies, so grant and loan money. What we do have to do the feasibility studies, and we were pretty close to there on the preliminary architecture report on this one, and now we have to retrench and do one up there. So it's going to take at least 3 months solid work for the engineers to change the entire plan over to the new facility, and it doesn't have to be a full design, but it has to be a conceptual design with prices attached, and it's got a format for it. And then we have to have a feasibility study, which is an audit by our auditors to determine whether or not the debt service and everything and the cost of running the building is manageable. They've already passed that in the previous one. They actually show it generates revenue at some point. So those are all steps that are doable and we can accomplish, but they're going to take time. So, and that's the challenge.
Any other questions there?
I have.
Heston, go ahead.
Again, I have just a quick comment or question about on the financing side. On the EIC funding agreement with Resolution, there's leftover money each year because of the good work you've done on planning and getting a good contract with seat spot and everything. Has there been any thought around trying to really come to resolution and have discussions around using some of those dollars to help offset some of these potential costs on the multi-gym?
That would be an excellent conversation to have, and I'm glad you put it on the table. So I'll be speaking to you later about that.
Good.
Any other questions?
This is Stephanie. I basically just want to chime in to say I'm actually was excited to hear that this was on the table for the old high school. I mean, obviously we're going to have to just do what we have to do to make it work, and then you can, design it with items that can be added in the future, like the wall or different issue, different various aspects like that. But I'm assuming that town hall would actually also move here, and then what would we do with the current Roosevelt School?
That would be a planning function that maybe we could address after we, have a breath on the other building. The suggestion I have from my staff is that Aho has an old school they've turned into subsidized housing for artists, and that this building would be a good fit for that. I don't know, that's a lot of steps from here to there, but we'll have to canvass ideas and see what comes from it. This is a town center building in the middle of a residential district. Residential uses do make sense.
Okay.
Todd, just one more thing. I noted, we spent a lot of time getting to this point. I think it's been about 2 years, would you say? Last time we talked, I thought we had discussed possible projects starting in December. That is correct. I just want to know how we're going to head off. You talk about construction costs going up. How are we going to plan for that in the event that we get started on this new project and then not get to the point where we're at right now with the next project?
That's why timelines are important. The preliminary architecture report, I've talked to the engineers. I'm asking for a commitment to get it done in 90 days. If that's the case, we could be done and property changed hands in March, and then we could put it out for bid. Construction would be delayed about 6 months on what we had planned originally to do the change. So the current construction environment in 6 months will not change as much as it did the 2 years it took to get here. If you look at what's happening in the construction market, hopefully someone sees it as an opportunity. But right now, you look at the construction crews, and many of the men working swinging hammers are 50 years old and plus. There's not a lot of young people in the industry. That's one of the things that this center could conceivably address is let's make some opportunity for us to teach the trades in our community, try to get kids ready for those high-paying jobs at the mine and for those high-paying trades jobs. But the problem is no matter what we do now, we have to be aware that prices are just going to go up. So anything we do, we have to put enough cushion in there that with the 1.5. We have to set things as alternates so that they can be dropped off. And we'll have to have that discussion as we get closer. We would have had that conversation about this building because we always anticipated that certain things were going to be more expensive and we would have to put them on for future planning. But for the other building, we're going to have to be open to the same thing. Say we don't have enough money to do the modifications to the Enterprise Innovation Center. That gets put on the back burner and we look for additional grants for that or something like that. But I think that with this building, it's more likely there's less actual construction necessary. Another thing we've done to help manage that is we have run up a special projects division in our public works. There's a two-man crew, and it will be expanded based on projects that come forward to do the work in-house. They have the skills to be able to do the restructuring inside a building. They're currently doing the old PD and remodeling it. So we can do it much more of this in-house and save a lot of money doing it that way. That's part of the budget for the eventual project. We can bootstrap our way into this building a lot more than we could building brand new.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Belle.
So, are you saying that the whole high school is going to be utilized by the town, using it for workspace and possibly leasing it to other, businesses who might be interested, like on that second and third wing?
All of that's on the table. Yes, it's a huge facility. It's 52,000 square feet. To compare, the Roosevelt's 25,000 square feet. The purchase includes all of the buildings and the whole site. So We do have some flexibility there. One of the things that was going to go in this building that will probably go in the other one as well is the Alumni Association. We may be looking for more historic uses, more mining history and things like that. There's grant money around that through the resolution EIS. There's a special fund for historic projects in the Copper Corridor. So there are other things that we can look to do to use those. The Enterprise Innovation Center, the entire purpose of that is to provide entrepreneurship, facilitation. If you are starting a business, you don't have enough money to rent a shop in the downtown, you don't have enough money to buy the printers and computers and internet connections you need to launch it, you come to that place, you get access to a co-working space. It has printers, it has internet, it has everything you need to do. It has somebody there who can help you apply for grants, loans, fill out the paperwork you need with the government, get you training. That's the second contract with Resolution Copper for that facility. Seed Spot's our current contractor with that, and they would have an office in that building to provide that help. Where it ends up is an open question right now. Like I said, my personal feeling, having toured the facility, is that the second floor of the shop is an excellent choice for it. It needs a few more windows.
So we have a big, yeah.
It's a big, open, configurable space. It needs AC, but other than that, it's fairly updated.
Yes, sir.
Other questions?
Any other discussion on this topic? Do you need some sort of direction? What do you need?
The council's going to have to make the decision. I didn't ask for a vote on it. I wanted to just get your opinions, I understand completely everyone's thoughts on the subject. It's a pivot. It's going to take some time to get our minds around and to think how we can do it successfully. And the council, Councilman Navarrete is on that call, so she's listening to everyone's comments, and I'm sure we'll.
I kind of want to hear what she has to say as far as where she stands from what she's heard so far.
Yeah, so I was initially very disappointed that we did it. I think just because there was just so much hype about getting this new multi-gen center and, seeing the design. But the reality is if it's going to cost $18 million, that's never going to happen. We're never going to be able to afford that. It is disappointing, but at the same time, I think this is also an opportunity and an option that we need to look into, because I don't want this to pass us by, and I do think that would be good for the town and for the community to get this building back if they can. I'm really curious about what the public would have to say, so I would like to know when we think we'll be able to get survey out, you're putting survey out, or how you're going to get their input or not.
We have a press release we're working on. It's all approved by everybody internally. I'm just waiting for Elijah Carden to look at it because it mentions his name. As soon as it's done, we're going to put it out on Facebook and in the newspaper, and ask anyone if they have comments to submit them to the front desk email. We're asking for letters in support or against. We'll see what we get.
Todd, just a question on the survey. Now, all of this is all these people out there do not know the process that we went through to get to this point. Will that be explained to them? Because I'm going to tell you what, they're going to make their own assumptions if you do not put that information out. And I'd like to, they need to know that we actually sat here and did some stuff to get to this point.
It does cover it to a certain extent. What you have to be aware of with the public is attention span. If you put in a 3-page article, they will read the first paragraph. So I think we need to
You can't keep it any less than 3 pages, Todd?
It's about a page and a half right now. But yeah, we've done our best to keep it tight and to get to the high points. But it's going to be, there are people who are still mad about what happened 20 years ago. So there's going to be opinions that come out of the woodwork. It's going to be an up and down issue. I think that I can't make a judgment as to people will feel about it until we start gauging the public. So as soon as it goes on Facebook, we're going to start getting comments back in on the Facebook stream, of course, and we'll get hopefully some letters in support or against to give to the council before the council meeting. If it goes out this week, they'll have 2 weeks to do that.
I just want to say I didn't agree with it either, Vanessa. However, I do see that we could do some things with this. It does provide space, bigger space that's already established. Like I said, the parking lot, the gym. You could also hold, bigger events there because they have the room. And I can see this growing to do something. And I agree, we probably will not be able to get it if it's an $18 million expense. So, we got to do what we got to do at this point. And like I said, generally I did not agree, but if we don't move forward, we probably won't, because 30 years ago, there were plans to build places like this that have never got off the floor. Because I remember being on the recreation committee at one time, and there were several beautiful plans that never got off, and I don't want this to be one of them. We need to start crossing some of those things off that checklist. So, in moving forward, are there any more discussion points on this item? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to move to B, discussion update on wayfinding signs contract between the Town of Superior and Kimley Horn and Associates Incorporated.
That we did select Kimley Horn. There were several members of this committee who served on the selection committee, and I thank you for your service. They were the clear winners. There is a contract that will be approved by the council that I believe we have attached to this. I wanted you to be aware of it because it has lots of public engagement and a schedule attached to it. So this committee will be heavily involved in that public engagement. So this is more an informative item to let you know that this is coming and to see what the expectations are for us being involved in. Does anybody have questions on it?
Any questions?
I have no questions, but excuse me for doing this, but on the Superior High School, you guys don't want to ask if the committee has a recommendation for the town, or it just doesn't make sense?
Well, just because we sign an option doesn't commit us to doing it. What it does, signing the option gives us a year to study. And
okay.
So I expect that we will be having the engineers back in here to re-engage with us on the modified design. And before I ask you to sign off on something, I want to make sure that we've checked that it's in fact feasible.
Understood.
Anything else on the wayfinding signs, contract, questions, concerns?
This is Vanessa. I have a question. You mentioned something about a schedule, but maybe I'm not. Is that in here, or
Maybe that could attach to it.
am I just not seeing that? The proposal.
There was an engagement plan, everything on the back side of it. I don't know if we got it included.
The scope of services?
It's got the tasks listed out. If you go back to the back, Exhibit A, Scope of Services, it lists out all the project kickoff, the gathering background information, the field reviews, then it has the deliverables for that task, and then it goes through each of the tasks in order. It doesn't set an exact time, it just says these are the steps that we all have to go through.
Okay.
You good with that, Vanessa?
Yeah. I was just, I think that, I'm not concerned, but I just was curious, like, when they would make a field visit, because, these times, their answer is going to be different.
you know, now compared to, you know, when we have winter visitors versus when we have events. So, I don't know that one field trip visit will give them the right picture of the flow of our traffic. Did you have any thoughts around that, Todd?
I think that if they're engaging with us and we're sharing that information with them, I think we can bring them up to speed on the events and stuff. Generally, when they start their background information, they will pull things like event data, and you know, they'll have to talk to the chamber to get their attendance for all these events and stuff like that.
So you'll basically provide a calendar of events?
Yeah. When we get down, when we actually get the approved contract, then we'll start scheduling out these things. But you can see what each stage involves. So it's quite a bit of research before they actually get down to the report.
Is that it? Any other discussion on that? Okay, I'm hearing none, so we'll move on to number 6, summary of current events. Anybody want to share anything? Go around the horn. Valerie, you got anything to share?
No, we haven't, other than, we had a youth council meeting in the summer. We're gonna get together, some of the CTSOs are already, planning meetings or have had a meeting, so other than that, that's about it.
Okay, Val, thank you. Vanessa, you got anything to share?
I don't have anything, thank you.
Okay, Tiffany, how about you?
The only thing I can think of is I know Rebuild Superior is having another cemetery cleanup. I think we skipped October. Jim might know for sure. Maybe in September, but hopefully we have a good turnout there. You know, obviously the chamber is looking for a good opportunity for the office to reopen, which it has not at this time, and looking to push some of our normal events back a little further within the year. Hopefully we can have those next year.
Cool. Jim, you know the date on that?
Yeah, okay, so I'll help Tiffany out. The Fairview Cemetery cleanup is Saturday, the 24th of October. I believe it's 6 a.m. to 9 or 10, and I'm not sure all the promotion's gone out for that yet. The date is solid. The other one that's much sooner, the Blight Committee for Rebuild Superior is painting fences on Pinnell Avenue this Saturday.
Right.
That'll basically be 7 a.m. I believe, 7 a.m. to about 9 or 10.
Yeah, until 90 degrees.
Yeah, okay.
Then you gotta stop paying.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so go ahead. No, I was just saying, I believe Leo's Market, if you all have a German, I believe they've already painted the face of Leo's Market, and Chuck Davidson is going to do some nice, cute little art graphics on a wall that I guess is by a bus stop. So just looking to brighten that street up a little bit.
Very good, very good.
And, the beginning of October, I think 3rd, 4th, Boyce Thompson is opening the Wallace Garden, and in that same period, Brucey Vineyard has a liquor license and a business license, and they will be on Magna Avenue with a wine tasting.
Wow. Anything else to add from you guys? You good?
I have just again.
Go ahead, Vanessa.
So, I don't know if anybody would know or not. Todd, do you know if there's going to be any type of Halloween event?
We are currently working on planning that. The current plan, if we can get approvals from BHP, is The laser show we booked for 4th of July and had to cancel because of COVID, we're going to do as a drive-in laser show. The site we are trying to put it at is the empty lot where Little League practices, right next to the SMS. We're also going to do a drive-through haunted house at the fire station bay with the candy bag at the end of it. So they drive through their little haunted house, they get a candy bag, they go down and park and watch the laser show. Apparently the laser company says they've got lots of Halloween graphics and they're really excited about it because it sounds fun. So, but we still have to get, once I get BHP to sign off on it, then I can start telling the public. Right now, I don't have a spot to put it. The second spot that we talked about was the airport, but PD's concerned about crossing the highway with that many cars and the traffic problems that would create. So we're trying to come up with solutions to it right now.
Another spot we had asked was possibly on the field, but I think we talked about the congestion around the, it's harder for the park inside the football field that it could cause problems there too, so. That was a concern for us.
If we can get access to that lot, it's about perfect. We'd have them cut the weeds on it and clear it up a bit. It's got tons of space, so I think that would be the best one. But like I said, I've got to get BHP to give us permission, and they're not returning our calls right now.
Oh, shucks.
Surprise, surprise.
Hey, let's hear from Nathan Taylor.
I don't have anything.
Come on, Nate. How about you, Heston?
Public report update.
Heston, you got anything to add?
No, we've got nothing going on.
All right, guys. Well, if that's
I would like to mention what's coming up at the next meeting. Hopefully, we are getting close on annexation. We should have the last agreement in place we need and the last signature next month. So we need to finalize the pre-annexation plan. Everybody's had like 3 or 4 passes at it, but we need to finalize it. That's I think it's about 20-page written document that says how we're going to cover the police, how we're going to cover the fire, how we're going to do the sewer, all that sort of stuff. It's laid out in the document. So we have to be ready for council approval in November or December. So I will be sending out a draft probably next week for you guys to pound back and forth and make sure it's ready to go.
any more discussion on current events? Moving
I
on.
make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay, number 7, scheduling of next meeting.
I second.
Hey, we'll get to that. October 22nd, 2020, same time, same place. And we have a motion on the floor for adjournment. All those in favor?
Aye.
I think it's unanimous. Thank you guys, and stay safe out there.
Thank you.
Be well.
Be well, everyone.